Hi, my name is Graham Codrington from Tomorrow Today Global. Our latest presentation is South Africa in the 2020s. It's a look at this great country of ours and what we need to do in order to make a success of the 2020s. What we need to do as individuals, as organizations, and as a society as a whole. The presentation is broken up into three parts. The first thing we do is have a look at the global context in which we find ourselves. This is absolutely important because South Africans very often think of themselves as a very isolated country and don't think of themselves in the context of some of the big political, economic, and technological forces that are shaping the whole world around us. We're not in isolation here at the bottom end of Africa, and things that are happening to other developing nations, things that are happening in the world at large, actually affect us. It really does give us a new sense of perspective when we see South Africa in the context of the world of the 2020s, a world driven by deep structural changes, by automation and technological advances, and by deep social change. So that's where we start. We create a little bit of context for us to understand that actually there's some really good news about where South Africa is and how we're positioned. That leads us to the second part of the presentation that does an analysis of where South Africa is now. We're in a really interesting part of our history. You know what, I grew up in South Africa, and although I spent 5 years living in London, I am both South African by birth and by choice, having moved my family back here for my daughter's schooling. And, you know, in all of that time that I've been alive, the half century that I've seen of South African history, we've felt like we've been standing on the edge of a cliff. I think that's where we are as South Africans. I'm not sure I can say we like it, but at least we're used to it. We haven't fallen off yet, and I don't think that we will. But there does have a feeling, there is a feeling that as we head into the 2020s, that we're maybe more precarious than we've been in a while. And so the presentation does an analysis of the politics, the economics, the societal forces, and where we are right now. We keep this section of the presentation up to date with latest news and insights and information and references to some of the country's experts, bringing different opinions and different insights to bear on where we are. It generally is an upbeat view because we think there is, in fact, a lot of good news in and amongst some of the news headlines that may be bringing you down. But it definitely is both realistic as well as upbeat in its tone. And finally, then, we get to the heart of the presentation, which is really what we think this South Africa in the 2020s is really all about. And that is, what must we do to respond? We being ordinary South Africans, we being groups of South Africans getting together, trying to make a difference. And of course, we being maybe your organization, your business, and what it is that you can do to be successful in the South African context in the next decade. Here we look at a few of the biggest issues that we need to deal with. These issues could be seen as threats because these are issues that threaten to cause the country to collapse and to go further down some of the bad paths that we've been on. Issues like education and unemployment and corruption. But these are also issues that provide opportunities. Those same issues, and education, employment, corruption, provide opportunities for businesses to respond. They create opportunities for entrepreneurs to get involved in solving some of South Africa's problems. But then, of course, there are also the ways in which we can respond to build up our country and to respond to some of the issues that we face. These issues include the ongoing racial divides in the country, the issues of healing our nation, issues of wealth inequality and how we deal with that. We also talk about the fake news market. We must recognize that there are outside forces in the world which would love to destabilize our country. It would give countries like Russia and China and others the opportunity to come into our country and to manipulate our economy and take some of our resources for themselves. We need to know how to identify fake news, proper fake news, and how to deal with it and stop spreading it ourselves. We need to deal with some of the issues like our broken politics and political systems and corruption. And then, of course, we need to look at what we as individuals can do. Things like mentoring, creating employment opportunities, and finally, speaking South Africa up. Yes, we don't want to stick our heads in the sand. Yes, we know that there are problems with our country, but we are South Africans. We know that we can and we will deal with these issues. We know that if we stand together, we can build a stronger country. And we know that in the global context of a world that is currently in a massive series of shifts and deep disruptions, that as South Africans, we do have the DNA that will enable us to survive and even thrive in the century ahead. The 2020s is going to be a remarkable decade, but a decade where we have the choice as individuals and as organizations to put our country on the path to success, to turn a corner and to set ourselves up for success in the future. So South Africa in the 2020s sets out a bold agenda of trying to reimagine where South Africa can be and to inspire us all to make a contribution towards that future. If you'd like more information, please have a look at our website. Have a look here. That's our company website, tomorrowtodayglobal.com, or contact me or any one of my team to talk about how we might bring this message to you and your organization. Let's speak South Africa up and set ourselves up for success in the 2020s and beyond.